Welcome back to the Sonic Screwcast. The Lorehounds look into the heart of the TARDIS. I'm John, a man with no wishes left to give after the Doctor ended them all.
I'm Elysia, apparently the only woman who remembers that we were supposed to get some resolution about Susan.
And hello, I'm Ian, ready to try to piece together the puzzle of the reality war. Doctor New Who Season 2 finale, and ask where this all goes from here.
Oh boy, we've got a heck of an episode ahead of us for discussion, critique, maybe a little praise, we'll say. Spoilers for the episode, big reveals. I mean, probably the biggest set of reveals for the whole season. And I'm supposed to give my thoughts on episode 7 here, which is that I generally liked episode 7, and I had a lot of hopes and dreams for episode 8. They are some of them fulfilled, I guess. We'll see.
Grumble.
We'll see. I think you two did a great job breaking it down last time. Let's get right into the reality war. Elysia, can you give us some details?
Yeah, this one was also written by Russell T. Davies, and the official plot tease was the battle rages across the skies as the unholy trinity unleashes their deadly ambition. The Doctor, Belinda, and Ruby have to risk everything in the quest to save one innocent life. So what was your hot take, Jim?
Oh. We need a new showrunner. I'm just going to be honest with you here. I think I love RTD. I think he did a great job in his first run most of the time. I think he's kind of out of ideas with this set of characters. And that's okay. Like, we all have a limited set of ideas that we would have with running the same show. I just think that this is starting to show its cracks a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you said this, Elysia, off air, which is we had the same exact issue last season, which was all these mysteries set up and not a lot of payoff in the finale. Sorry, by the way, my voice is a little shot. There was a DJ that was way too loud at this wedding I was at, and I had to talk over it when people asked me questions. And now I have no voice. So,
I'm sure it was the DJ. Yeah, definitely it was the DJ force feeding you alcohol. Yeah, I'm sure that was it.
No, actually, they were watering down the drinks. My friends and I. So my friends, bunch of us, they said, "Hey, let's all do a shot to celebrate." And they passed around the shots, and we all took the shot and looked at each other and went, "That was water, right?" Like that was water with a splash of tequila.
That's amazing. They actually did you a favor then. That was a kindness.
My wife and I looked at each other, and we got an Uber home because we were being responsible. And she goes, "I could drive right now. Like this, I am sober, stone cold sober."
Was it an open bar at least?
Yes,
they didn't
it
make
was.
you pay for that. Yeah, okay.
It was, but I was like, damn.
Money. Yeah, but they made the whoever paid for the wedding had to pay for that. So
yeah. Anyway,
I hope you drank all their
water
tequila.
Yeah, no, I was sober like the whole night. Anyway, all right. The point is,
I wish I hadn't been during Doctor Who.
Doctor Who. So I came home and I watched this, and I was like, kind of disappointed by this. There were some cool moments. I thought that there were some fun things with Belinda and Ruby. Glad we're keeping Ruby along a little longer, but that I don't know where the show's going. I think that's the problem. Is like there's both no exciting next step and no fresh start. Like we're supposedly continuing with the same set of mysteries, but like we didn't get any good reveals by the end of this. And I gotta be honest, Billie Piper seems like stunt casting to me.
Well, I think it was a panic casting. You brought up the reshoots in February.
Yes, I've heard that. And by the way, I saw a leak of Billie Piper's casting like 2 weeks ago, or whenever it started leaking. And I wish I didn't see it because I would have been more surprised. But I saw this, and so I don't know if withholding press access to these really did any help. But I saw this leak, and I was like, maybe it could work. I'm not totally against it. I'm actually not totally against her being the Doctor. I just think that the timing of it is so bad. Like, Ncuti deserved at least another season.
But it was his choice, right?
I know, I know,
but I think it was his choice because what I heard was it was because Disney is so up in the air and they don't know when this will continue or something. So it's like, well, he said like his career's taking off. He obviously can't just be on hold on contract indefinitely.
Right. It's a shame. I do think it was circumstances that forced him out, not really like his own volition. But I mean, we can't speculate all night. I liked the 15th Doctor, but I'm gonna have a hard time placing him in rankings because I didn't get to know him very much. Like Eccleston had fewer episodes, and I feel like I know his Doctor better.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
He just an extremely underdeveloped Doctor, and that's not his fault. That's just the fault of the show going down to 8 episodes a season, and the writing being very, very shallow for him. I don't understand it. But yeah, I mean, overall, just like kind of disappointed, especially with the Susan stuff. I saw this comment on Reddit that I agree with that said, someone needs to sit RTD down and say, Caroline Ford is 84. It's now or never.
But I think that's it. I think that was the now or never that we got.
Really? You don't think we're going to do anything ever again?
Well, what was the point of it then?
It was just to have her on screen again. That was purely it. It was like, because I think they had some regrets about not getting, I know the Brigadier turned up in the Sarah Jane Adventures, but Nicholas, I've forgotten his full name, but the guy who played the Brigadier passed away before he could appear on Doctor Who, I believe. And I just think it was let's get her into the TARDIS in a shot, because maybe she's not even up to doing a full arc or something, and it's better to do this than nothing at all. So yeah, I think that's it for Susan. Unless the Doctor may explain some stuff, but as far as Caroline Ford goes, I think that's it.
I mean, they could have had Susan regenerate into, but then just while you have her here, she can just sit in the TARDIS, but just explain how she's the granddaughter, where she's been, anything. Just give us anything other than just grandfather. Remember when I used to say grandfather?
Yeah, it was.
No, I'm with you.
A lot of stunts, right? It just felt like a lot of like stunts. Remember. And I had Ian's criticism from last episode in my head.
You infected us. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but it's a really valid criticism, and I hadn't thought about it before. Is this fact that they said, "Oh, this is a soft reboot to bring new fans in," and every episode, not every episode, but like a lot of these episodes have either classic Who things, or now we're going full on Rose is the Doctor, and you're like, well, that means nothing to you if you started watching what's Shooty's first season.
It is I think it's a tactical misstep. I get it. I get the rebranding to season 1 makes it less intimidating. Like, this is a great onboarding point. But then it is so sneaky to tie in as much lore as has been tied in to old Who. It's not a sprinkling. It's not, this is the universe you live in. It's, this is crucial knowledge that everybody is like, I get that. And you're like, no, I don't get that at all. And you can get away with that if you're telling a great story and you're executing it really well. But I don't think any of that is really hitting, especially with the finale.
Yeah, I mean, other than the Dalek showing up in series 1 of New Who, there's really not a lot of Gallifrey talk, right? Like, there's not a lot of like Time Lord lore. It's just about the Doctor himself. And if you're going to onboard, that's what it's got to be.
Yeah,
they didn't do that with this reboot.
You barely got an onboarding with the Doctor because there's a lot of setup for Unit. He goes through 2 companions that need their own backstory and their own setup, multiple episodes. I mean, Shooty had 16 episodes. He's not in 2 of them. So he's bordering on having 2 seasons, but fewer episodes than Eccleston. So it's just it's misplanned. I feel like RTD perhaps had too much power and not enough people telling him no. Yeah. And maybe the BBC were fine with that after the Chibnallizing era.
All right. Well, that's enough complaining for me.
Nope.
Who's next?
I will not promise that at all.
Okay, Ian.
All right, Ian, you go next. And I promise to anyone who liked it, I will be the kindest of the 3, probably.
I barely want to talk about the the Omega Rani part of the episode. Like, that was such a letdown disappointment for me. There were some highlights towards the end of the episode. I don't even hate the Billy Piper-ness of it all. I actually quite enjoyed that. But overall, the episode did not... The analogy I made last week is that last week's episode sacrificed itself on the altar of this episode being excellent and having all of that set up to deliver a really cool story. And it didn't do that. It rushed through it. It was incredulously overwritten, which is something I feel like some areas of Doctor Who can do better, is explaining the exposition, the villain's plan. There were a bajillion words in this episode from the Rani and the Doctor and Omega explaining all of the villainous things that are happening. And then it ends pretty quickly, so that we can do some more wrap up with Poppy and Ruby and then shoehorn that into the actual ending. So it's, in terms of like a cohesive story, it isn't, because there are so many different stories being told that aren't interwoven together very well for me. So yeah, it was overall a disjointed mess of a finale for me. And it does hurt me to say it, because I love all of the ingredients here, but I hate the meal that I'm being served.
Yeah. Yeah. I was telling you guys that I had a very different experience watching it the first time and rewatching it this morning to do these notes. And I was really wrapped up when I watched it live, and a part of me really liked the fact that I was watching it. You know, we didn't get any the episodes later this week because we didn't get any early access to watch it and prep or anything like that. But there was something really nice about like watching it and talking live with my friends about it and stuff.
Yeah, that felt pretty special.
Yeah, and I felt a lot of emotions. You know, there was sadness, but it was a bittersweet sadness. I did think I was sad about Archie Punjabi's Rani being gone so soon. I was, by the way, her husband's name is Raj, apparently, which means Rani means queen in Hindi and Raj means king. Anyway,
so perfect.
Just a fun
it's
fact.
So good. That casting is just... That's the best story told in the whole of the season, is the casting itself.
I mean, I thought she was a great Rani personally, and so I'm sad to see her go. This seems to be a goodbye to Belinda, I guess. I mean, I guess not Ruby, because there's still questions in the air about her. And then of course Ncuti, and yeah, we've talked a bit about that. But so there was a sadness, but it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. There was a lot of questions. But then when I rewatched it this morning, it just kind of, I don't know, my opinion shifting also because I've started rewatching the 9th Doctor episodes and I realize those are better. Like,
they're so good.
And I'm watching the 3rd Doctor and I'm like, even Planet of the Spiders, which boy has its issues. I'm like, this is just a better story. Like, it has a beginning, middle, and end.
It really does. Each serial really did. And that season 1 in particular, I think could be, I don't know if it's underrated, properly rated, but for me, we don't talk about how great that first season was.
But that was the same writer. So, you know, what happened? Because now the complaints that we had about the last showrunner, Chibnall, I was just rewatching, you know, some of his better episodes toward the end of the Jodie Whittaker era. And it has a lot of the same problems that these do. Like, it feels like RTD2 has more in common with the Chibnall era than with his prior era, where it's just
with that.
Yeah.
a mess of ideas.
You know what's so weird about that? Like, Chibnall, I was thinking about this. Chibnall wrote Broadchurch, which is a masterpiece. Like, the first season of Broadchurch is a masterpiece. And it has such subtle exposition. And then most Chibnall episodes are like, hello, I'm the Doctor, and here's exactly what's going to happen today. It's just exposition dump after exposition dump, and it's so weird.
Yeah, it makes me start to question the wider machine of the writer's room and how that operates and what pressures there are, because it feels like I know RTD is capable of so much more. I just was watching him do a really emotional Dalek episode in the first season, you know, of all things.
Did he write that, though?
Good question. But I think he wrote a lot of but he wrote a lot of really good episodes of Doctor Who. And he's also behind Years and Years, which is a show I love. And yeah.
Yeah, my understanding was that he had a hand in basically every episode. If he didn't write it, he was doing the rewrites. So his vision was in basically everything from Eccleston to Tennant.
Yeah, I agree. But it feels like also in the end, we were talking about this as this whole Disney thing was supposed to be onboarding new people. And then by the end of the season, it felt more, especially that grab at the end with Billie Piper, it felt more like they're trying to get back older fans rather than win new ones. So I feel like they've given up on the Disney side of it. They're like, and then they're just like, no, please come back, old fans. We promise to make you care again. But then you have to make me care in this episode, which they did, because I don't know. I guess I have ambivalent feelings.
I think it's completely fine to be right in the middle of this one, because I think that kind of sums up how it doesn't land, really. Like, it really takes you through the ringer. And what you were saying about the Chibnall era and how this feels like that, it kind of like got my brain going a little bit, and I'm desperately trying to put why this era, pretty much since Jodie Whittaker, feels so different to old Who. And I feel like Doctor Who was always a show kind of aimed at children, but it was an adult show that was aimed at children. I feel like it's kind of like reversed. It's now a child show that is being put towards adults, and we're being talked down to a lot instead of just making something grown up that children will appreciate as well. So yeah, it's just something. It almost feels like, and this is going to be like a heretical thing to say, but the reverence is kind of gone. And I don't mean a protective reverence where you can't touch anything and you can't change anything. But it's kind of like, we can do whatever we want because it's Doctor Who. And yes, that is true. But that doesn't mean you don't need some guide rails as well. And you don't need some parameters. It's not just everything will be fantastic because the Doctor is doing it and it's in space.
There's basic writing things in effect here where if you set up mysteries, solve them in the same season and not by pointing out a sign or, I don't know, whatever, like creating more questions than answers like this finale did. And I'm like, maybe I'm a little saltier because I went back and watched a lot of Gallifrey lore episodes in the past couple weeks leading up to this. I rewatched also like the Gallifrey lore episodes from the modern run that I hadn't seen for a while. And no tie-ins with the Timeless Child. The whole Susan thing they teased, and then what is, I don't know. I wanted to believe, okay, Poppy could be Susan's mother. That would have been interesting to me. There's a dozen different ways you could have gone that direction. But now you just left me with more questions instead of like just delivering some version of that answer that was clearly right in front of us and would have been satisfying. Spent all this time setting up the Pantheon, and they ended up playing no important role in this finale, which again, I would mind less if we knew when we were going to next see any Doctor Who at all, other than we'll talk about the other show. But I did all this stuff for Tinfoil Hat Theory Corner, but we're just going to skip it this time. I'll bring up anything that's relevant, but there's just like, feels like there's no point in talking about the past lore. So it's like you're bringing in all this past lore, but then it's like the main character, the Doctor, forgets. Like he forgets the last two times he interacted with Omega or whatever they're pronouncing it now.
Yeah, that was so weird. Is like, why did the Doctor go like, I've faced this guy before?
I mean, especially because Kate's like, my dad faced Omega before. Like, with whom? With the Doctor, perhaps twice. Right. Like, and the Doctor's like, in legend, they say. I'm like, you've met Omega at least twice. Like,
well, he did say it's been a long time, so there was an acknowledgement there, but there wasn't. It did.
Yeah, but he remembered the toy maker, which was earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seemed like he completely omitted the part where Omega wasn't really the bad guy. He ended up being the villain, but the intents were good. Like, just the important stuff, if you're going to bring back this person and get people into old Doctor Who lore, it's like they didn't rewatch the episodes either.
Exactly my feeling, yeah. And there was also all that meta stuff they set up with Mrs. Flood and the fans earlier in the season. Like, I thought that was exciting and hopefully going in a cool direction, but just no explanation, and Mrs. Flood just doesn't talk to the camera anymore for no reason. Why tease us twice about Rogue and then just leave it like that? Like, I understand this probably has to do with Nshuti leaving sooner than expected, but
and Jonathan Groff being big, and they shot that during the shooting of last season, you know.
Right, exactly. But then it's like, okay, so you're just going to leave this character in the hell dimension? At least they could have shot some scene to resolve it, and now it's like, well, I want it resolved, but if it's another Doctor, it's not going to be the same, you know?
Right.
Yeah, he doesn't get to say goodbye to this Doctor.
Exactly.
I have thoughts on what they're going to do with regeneration and Billie Piper and whatnot, but finish your thoughts first, and then I want to go into that a little bit.
All right. So, I mean, I agree with you. I'm ready for a new writer's room overall. I want the Disney money, but I don't think we're getting it. I am intrigued. Did you guys watch the trailer for The War Between the Land and the Sea that was released?
Oh, you mean Twiblats?
Yeah, that's what I had. So I wrote it in the notes.
It really could have been so much better a name. What is happening?
Call it Twiblats, and that's better.
Twiblats. But it does. Okay, so it's written by Russell T Davies and Pete Mitai, who wrote Lucky Day and other stuff in the past. But it looks, I am excited about this trailer. It looks more grounded, dare I say. I'm hoping it will be what I hoped Secret Invasion would be.
That's interesting. Yeah, I like that spin.
So I don't know. I'm curious to see, because as we've said, like, these writers, we know they're capable of nuanced, profound writing. Okay, maybe nuance isn't so much in Russell T Davies' wheelhouse, but I know he's capable of great things. So I'm very curious, how will this play out? We still don't have a date for when it's coming, just 2025. And will that affect anything with the overall up in the airness about the future of Doctor Who?
I'm so burned out right now. The trailer did look good. I did enjoy it. I do love these characters. I'm happy to spend time with them. I am cautiously optimistic. But I mean, the BBC doesn't really have form for letting things percolate either over time. So this could be a thing that, like, you grow with and it does great over like a few seasons, but there's almost too much riding on this first season being incredible that I think it has to do really, really well, or it will disappear into Doctor Who history.
I just learned of the existence of a show called Class. I didn't even know it existed, but I'm going to watch it.
You and everyone else that it was ever born, it disappeared. It just came and went. I think it was meant to be aimed at like teens, but yeah, it completely disappeared.
Well, we sure did it, everyone. We sure took RTD down a peg.
Well, no, I don't want to do that. But what were you going to say about or do you want to save that till the end, your thoughts?
I guess we could talk about it then. But you know what? I'm going to forget about it. Every time I say I'm going to save it to the end, I forget about it. Okay, here's my theory of where they're going with this. This is not the numbered 16th Doctor.
Agreed.
No.
Billie Piper is a result of shooting regeneration energy into the heart of the TARDIS, which was the origin of Bad Wolf. And so this isn't Rose. This is Bad Wolf hijacking a regeneration. That's my theory. This is the Bad Wolf Doctor or the Rose Doctor. They're going to call it something like that. And this is, I think, likely to be like a David Tennant style specials.
I agree.
Kind of thing. And I think that they're reserving I think that they're going to do one of two things. If Ncuti wants to come back, they will be like, oh, TARDIS did its thing. TARDIS hijacked the regeneration, pulling it back, and they're going to degenerate into Ncuti.
I think it's already degenerated.
Oh, but I'm ching. Yeah, I do wonder. I did think, could that be a possibility? Because I would like to continue with his story if they can work it out. And I think that supports what you're saying. We got some statements from Billie Piper and RTD themselves She said, "It's no secret how much I love this show, and I have always said I would love to return to the Whoniverse as I have some of my best memories there. So to be given the opportunity to step back on that TARDIS one more time was just something I couldn't refuse. But who, how, why, and when, you'll just have to wait and see." And he said, "Billy once changed the whole of television back in 2005, and now she's done it again. It's an honor and a hoot to welcome her back to the TARDIS, but quite how and why and who is a story yet to be told. After 62 years, the Doctor's adventures are only just beginning." So I think they're saying right there, like, this is for a special.
Yeah. And of course, the big thing in the credits, she wasn't credited as the Doctor.
Right.
You've absolutely lifted my theory out of my brain, John, and stolen all of my thunder.
Sorry.
It's probably because it's pretty much all right there. I think they haven't decided yet if Ncuti is 100% out of the question. So I think this is a admittedly smart-ish way of putting a wedge in the regeneration doorstop. And Billie Piper also tweeted, or whatever social media thing she's on, "A rose is a rose is a rose." So it is not beyond the realm of Doctor Who, because I don't think anything is, that this is Rose forcing herself into the Doctor's regeneration to resolve something over a special, and then can either become the real 16, we can have her regenerate into a new 16, or bring Ncuti back and degenerate. So yeah, I don't think there's any way that she's actually the new 16, which I kind of wouldn't have minded. I
would be fine with her being the 16th Doctor. It's again, my problem is Ncuti leaving too early. My problem is not Billie Piper. I would be fine if I think they have the three possibilities now, right? They could either they could have Ncuti back after she degenerates, if we're going to call it that. Kind of like they already did that, right? With the Master taking over the Doctor's body and then degenerating back into Jodie. They reversed her regeneration there.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I put that out of my brain because I didn't like it.
Yeah, it was stupid. It was stupid, but they did it. They've done it. It's in the lore.
Yes. Yeah.
And it would make sense. I just rewatched Departing on the Ways recently with my wife because I'm making her watch Doctor Who with me now. And Christopher Eccleston kisses Rose and then takes the energy from Bad Wolf, and then that same energy gets passed along into the heart of the TARDIS. So I think it would make sense for Bad Wolf's essence to be in the TARDIS.
Yep.
Sure.
Totally.
What if Bad Wolf turned into the Valeyard?
I love it. Cool. Let's just bring back another bit of lore.
And let's just make the 14th Doctor kill Rose.
Oh, wait, what? Wait, which one's 14? Oh, no, that's Karen. Stop it.
That was an evil laugh too, John.
Bring me back. Bring me in, RTD. I got you.
If they really want to break everything, they should bring in Georgia Tennant and make her 17.
Oh, and she's the daughter of the Doctor.
It would be perfect. Susan regenerates into Georgia Tennant.
Yeah, I saw a great clip of David Tennant at a con, and they said, "Who's your favorite classic Doctor?" And he looks to the side, he looks to both sides, and he goes, "I like the Fifth Doctor." Because that's his father-in-law.
Yeah.
Hey, the Fifth Doctor, the Fifth and Seventh are my favorites of the classic era, I've decided. Now that I've seen more of them.
Brilliant picks. I love them. I think Seven is massively underrated.
I just watched the regeneration of Tom Baker, so I'm excited for my future classic Who watching.
The reaction to that regeneration is one of my favorites. He's just like, here we go again. It's such a great regeneration.
Yeah. I loved John Pertwee's last few moments. He was a really good Doctor. I was so reluctant with him at first because he's such whiplash from Patrick Troughton.
Yeah, he's so serious.
But I really liked him by the end. Why are we talking about this right now? I gotta move us on here.
You know why we're talking about it. It's more interesting.
I know it is more interesting. Okay. All right. Let's take a break and come back and talk about more about the episode. We're back. Elysia, can you bring us in?
All right, let's start with the reset. Picking up where last week left off, the Doctor is falling from the Bone Palace on a balcony, but just then Anita from the Time Hotel opens a door onto the balcony and pulls the Doctor through to the hotel. Back on Wish World, everything resets to the morning of May 23rd, 2025. Belinda wakes up alone, confused. But when the Doctor pulls her and Poppy into the Time Hotel, Belinda remembers who she is, and they figure out that Poppy is somehow, miraculously, real. The Doctor gets Anita to hold open the door of the fake unit office so that reality can flow in, and everyone present remembers who they are. So I was glad to see Anita back. I really liked her in the last Christmas special. She's pregnant. There were complaints about her only finding out that he's gay after she's spent like a year with him, but I don't know, is this Doctor canonically gay or just pansexual? Rogue is the one either way. Yeah,
I think he's pan everything. I think it didn't come up because he's just a being. He is an entity. I was a little bit miffed that she had those feelings for the Doctor. I feel like he's a beautiful man. We don't have to have everybody fall in love with him though.
Yeah. I mean, I did get that feeling from the Christmas special, but I thought that they had like wrapped that up. I don't think they did not need to and to say, oh, and then I ran straight to Ricardo, head of HR. It's like, oh, that's a little bit, you can just have lived your life and met someone.
Yes. It didn't have to be linked to you realizing the Doctor was unavailable.
Yeah. Yeah. Not great. But I did enjoy seeing her, and this whole part was probably my favorite part of the episode. I felt like we were going somewhere. We were bringing back the Time Hotel. Again, now we're tying up things that we started in these 2 seasons. I think that's great. It only became later that I gotta be honest. Does anyone care about Poppy?
I
don't care about Poppy.
Man,
I'm just gonna be honest with you.
At one point, when it looked like they were going to head off and do the family thing, and maybe that was the plan before whatever, I was intrigued to see, okay, where's this going? Yeah,
I always have the potential to care. The more and more we latched onto it, the less and less I cared. Which is it just tells me the way they're telling the story just isn't for me. It's just I didn't enjoy where it was going. The one moment it led to where I was like, that is magical, is I'm jumping ahead a bit, is the folding of Poppy's jacket and how it gradually that was a tingling way to tell that story, and that how you gradually forget. That was probably the best bit of storytelling of the entire season. That was beautiful.
I just want to shout out on the Discord, Polly has been posting some very funny summaries of these issues. So if you want to have a cathartic laugh, I recommend checking out this episode on the Discord.
That's funny.
A question though. Okay, so this day has reset hundreds of times, but is this the first time the Doctor was falling on the balcony? Did this day go differently than the others?
Well, my biggest qualm with this is if you're going to Groundhog Day. Like, I would have enjoyed last week's episode so much more if you did a cause and effect time loop thing where they're repeating each day and they have to find the inconsistencies, and they're slowly realizing, gradually, that's the G word I was looking for, gradually realizing that, wait, we've done this all before. Like, I don't know. That feels like a missed opportunity for the sake of a twist. Why does the 24th never happen? Why does Earth disappear? It's because it doesn't exist. That twist wasn't satisfying. It didn't really do it for me. So to answer your actual question, Elysia, I think it has to be the first time, because I don't know why Anita, if time is timey-wimey, I don't know why. I feel like that's the moment that Anita steps in, and that's what messes it all up.
Yeah, and so we find out all unit employees have microchip implants, which snaps them out of the wish, but is also like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that, oh my God. There's too much hand wave. You know what it is like, all right, that wouldn't be a problem in and of itself. Like, the silliness, the camp, the sort of like hand wavy storytelling. that's the cost of admission for Doctor Who.
Yes,
all fine.
Absolutely.
But we put up with that because of the intense emotional payoffs at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And this episode failed to deliver those, making us notice all these little handwave moments.
Yep.
So I also have questions about, so the Vlinks and Rose Noble reappear because the Conrad could not conceive of them in his reality. And I've seen people say that they are glad that they didn't de-transition Rose and put her in the tent camp or whatever. But I still feel like, I don't know, I still feel a little off about the way it was handled. And then she's just one of the many characters who, because they try to do too much in one episode, all these characters just disappear into the background. Like Anita just turns into Hodor for the rest of the episode. And, and I don't think we see Rose again.
No.
Have you ever met somebody like Conrad? They almost exclusively think about people like Rose.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a really good point.
So, like,
they have an unhealthy obsession with people like Rose.
Right, like I could see him saying like, oh, well, he wouldn't want somebody like you in here. But to say like he couldn't imagine someone like you, I was like, I think he absolutely could imagine somebody like you. I think he does in his sleep.
Yeah, I mean, but he imagines it wrong. And I guess I agree with the people who say we don't want to see his version of Rose. But yeah,
that makes sense. I can buy that.
I am also a little bothered, and this is a very minor quibble, that they're talking about the Underverse, and then the Doctor's like, oh, it's, they call it a dozen different things in different cultures, and this is a trope on Doctor Who a lot, it's fine, but like the Upside Down and Narnia and Hell. I'm like, Narnia is lumped in with the Upside Down and Hell? What are we doing?
I guess it depends on your interpretation of those books.
C.S. Lewis is like, excuse me.
I'm sure it's someone's version of hell.
Yeah. That's J.R. Tolkien's version of hell.
Yes,
exactly. He hated that shit.
Anyway.
Well, we're up to the Battle of the Bones.
All right. Shall we take turns with this one?
You two do it, because my voice is just shot, and if I speak for this long, it's going to be bad.
All right, Ian, you want to start?
Yeah, I can't wait. Meanwhile, the Rani and Mrs. Flood get their clone form hunter seekers to find Omega or Omega or Omega, depending on who's saying it, inventor of Time Lord time travel in the Underverse. The Rani also locates the Doctor with Conrad's help and teleports to Unit to confront him. She tells him she has been looking for the OG Time Lord Omega to release him from the Underverse to use his biology to revive the Time Lords, because the Time Lords are sterile, shock, and cannot reproduce. With Omega located, the Rani returns to the Bone Tower to pull him back into the well, turning the Bone Beasts on Unit to distract them. Pew, 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 pew. Susan Triad helps the Doctor build a Zero box, whatever that is, with Poppy, in which Poppy will be protected from the fluctuations of the Wish to try to preserve her beyond the end of the fake world. Belinda says she wants to guard her. Ruby's outfitted with a transmat device, which I love that callback to a bit of Doctor Who tech, from Project Indigo, and the Doctor calls the Rani's flying Segway, and they both go to the Bone Tower to confront the Ranis and Omega. Omega has been feeding on the myths of the Underverse, turning into a mad titan, not exactly a fitting father to bring back the Time Lord race. He devours the Rani and Mrs. Flood noops out of there with a time ring, while Ruby uses the baby magic to wish for Conrad to be happy so that he stops ruining other people's lives. The Doctor pulls the Vindicator off the midnight clock. The Vindicator is now charged with the power of 1 billion supernovas, and the Doctor pew-pews that power to force Omega back into the Underverse, however that works. The Bone Palace disappears, revealing it was built around the TARDIS. The Doctor, Ruby, and use it to escape back to Unit HQ, which is now back in the Avengers Tower. I love that you put the entire episode into 3 paragraphs so that we can just be done with it.
I mean, there's details to pick at, but this is a lot of the blah blah part.
Oh, so much, so many words.
But you were right, Ian, about the bone beasts being basically dino skeletons coming up from the Underverse in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just there's always a feeding thing. RTD loves a being that feeds on something and that attracts them. It's a trope that he's used again and again and again. So I couldn't help, after nearly 20 years, eye rolling. Of course, they're feeding on something. Just cool. Okay. If you're going to make something up, just make up something else. Make up something new.
Well, the best defense I saw of this online is if it's the god of time, Kronos ate his children. That's like established Greek lore. I saw somebody post about this online. I was like, oh, that's clicking now. So I think that's what RTD was going for. I don't think it was executed well, but I see what he was going for here.
I think Omega is supposed to be part of the pantheon.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't hate it. I just felt like it was one of many things this episode where it had potential and it could have been, but it was just too much crammed into one thing. And I do have to wonder how much is like where they just rearranged things at the end to deliver that new ending. And maybe there was before a more satisfying ending that tied these things together.
Yeah, I think she got eaten at everyone.
Although I did think that the Doctor sending Omega back to the abyss with the Vindicator, which looks like a guitar, that was a pretty metal moment in my esteem.
I do think it's absolutely hilarious that fans begged for the Ronnie for 20 years just to get her eaten in 2 episodes.
Yeah.
It almost is like, oh, you wanted her? No, you didn't.
I mean, we still have Mrs. Flood wherever she went, but yeah.
I'm going to be a grumble stilt skin about this. The Rani says, what do you think you're going to do, Doctor? You're going to come in here with a big speech and save the day? And I'm like, yeah, that's what the Doctor does. I love it. So for me, like, yeah, it looked cool, but him using a souped up ray gun to shoot the bad guy back into its hole, it just kind of sums up what I'm not here for with Doctor Who. Like, I want a speech. I want the intellectual way that the Doctor talks villains into submission or tricks them with some clever thing. Like, he is words. He's not guns. So giving him a gun, whatever form it is, whatever it's firing, always just like, it's disappointing for me.
Okay, I need to pick at this whole question of the Time Lord, because RTD said before this episode, how did he put it? It was going to like upend or something, the Gallifreyan
it's going to upend everything about Time Lord lore, Gallifreyan lore. It's all going to change.
But then, okay, so what we got is there was the Time War, and that's something that's been set up since the beginning of the New Who run, and we've revisited it various times. And it's the question of who survived. At first, it was only the Doctor, and then they realized there was 2, and the other's the Master. And now Ronnie slipped away because she reversed her DNA or whatever. It's like, you know what? Fine, I'm fine with that. It's in character. She would have totally run away. She was exiled anyway. But I do wonder first. She did have a TARDIS in previous incarnations, but I don't think they went back and watched the old episodes for some reason. But then Time Lords are sterile. But then they say, since they're sterile since the genetic explosion, is the genetic explosion the death particle that the Master set off? Last time we saw the Spy Master with the Ascension of the Cybermen, the Timeless Children, and Revolution of the Daleks when he did the Rasputin dance, which was awesome.
Yes, I did a lot of Redditing to confirm that, but yes, I believe that's true. Okay,
so fine. The Ronnie survived the Time War. Honestly, I'm perfectly fine with that. That makes sense. Okay, so the genetic explosion is that death particle that we saw. But then, okay, so the Time Lords have been sterile since then, but not before then. So Susan, the Doctor, could have had a child before that? From which Susan is the grandchild. But now, since it didn't happen, bi-generation is a response to that, a new way to regenerate. Is that what you understand?
Yeah, that's pretty much, it was, I think so. Like, that's
not how evolution works.
Well,
actually, no, it is not, Elysia. But there are single Time Lord in existence having the same mutation all of a sudden.
Well, okay, but there are cases where, like, if there isn't another gender to mate with, there are species that will like shift gender and stuff to find a way to reproduce. things like
Suddenly
that.
Doctor Who has a lot more connections to Jurassic Park than I ever thought it would. Just life finds a way is the answer. But bi-generation doesn't work if you don't want it to work, as somehow our Doctor knew that he wasn't going to bi-generate. Somehow.
But didn't also RTD say something about bi-generation could have happened in the past or has secretly always been there or some, I don't know.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah,
he said that it retroactively applied to all the Doctors for a minute. He said that he sees it as that, but he never followed up on that, so I'm going to ignore that until I have further evidence.
But the problem
it's not something said in the show, so we can ignore it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's my biggest problem still with bi-generation, is that it's not necessary because you can have overlapping time streams. Like, they still exist out there. You don't have to bi-generate.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to point out, by the way, something that, again, I have the feeling they didn't go back and rewatch their own old episodes, but in the Heaven Sent and Hell Bent episodes, which was 12th Doctor Capaldi episodes, season 9, episode 12 and 13, I think, they talk about a hybrid who would stand over, the desolation of Gallifrey in the end. And they were all afraid of this hybrid, and they thought maybe it was a human Dalek thing because it said 2 warrior races. And then they said, oh, it was, the Doctor said, no, it's me. And then they're like, no, it's actually me and Clara together. But then Poppy was the hybrid for a moment. So I don't know. I don't think that's where they're going with it. I just constantly see ways where you could tie all this together and make it meaningful and make it make sense. And why are they leaving that all on the table?
I think you're right. I don't think they did rewatch the older episodes. Just like nobody remembers that it is in canon that the Doctor is half human.
But RTD
that's
is
long gone.
I mean, but that's it. They could have played with that. They could have done something satisfying with that in this.
Yep.
Yeah. And we still have the question of how many lives they get, because the timeless child, is supposed to be 13, and then it got 13 more, but the timeless child makes it seem arbitrary. But
I don't think we're ever going to revisit that.
The timeless child? I don't know.
Well, no, not the timeless child. The number of regenerations. I think the timeless child was their get out of jail free card forever.
Yeah, right. I think so. I think oh man, my memory is going to be so bad. But from what I remember is the Doctor was the template for how Time Lords regenerate, but they couldn't do it as well as the original. So they were limited to 13, and the Doctor is unlimited now.
Yeah, but we explicitly got where the Doctor was given through a rift in time-space. The Time Lords gave him another set of regenerations at the end of Matt Smith's run. I was just, part of all this time I spent rewatching this stuff that they didn't rewatch. Put me in the writer's room. Anyway,
I don't think they want anybody in the writer's room who actually knows, because they wouldn't write anything.
But why couldn't they use the Doctor and Ronnie's DNA to,
it's a great question.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's special about Omega's biology that they had to bring him back from the Underverse to?
Well, but also, because there's nothing special about it. He created time travel. He didn't create the Time Lords.
Right. Exactly. That's what I was thinking the whole time, is like the timeless child basically said, like, no, the Doctor is the template for the biology.
Yeah.
It was just Omega doing time travel.
Yes, he's the scientist. Yep. He created a power source. He created a nuclear reactor.
And it's possible that the Ronnie doesn't know this, but I feel like she does.
It's possible that RTD doesn't know this.
I don't know. At least we got an acknowledgement that that Mel and the Ronnie had met before. No explanation as to why Mel's apparently not in the from the war between the land and the sea.
And what was with, so I don't like her, you can't trust her. And that's it. That's the whole confrontation. Like, give Mel something meaningful to do if you're going to have her meet an old enemy. Mel was impersonated by her, right? That was the whole plot line.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ruby is the only character other than the Doctor that really got anything meaningful to do this episode.
Completely agree. Yeah. Yeah.
And Kate, who has never said a nice thing to the Doctor in her life, that's not true. But like, who is not sappy, is just like, we're all your children.
Yeah, that felt like it was meant to be a moment. And I'm like, that's not the definition of parenthood.
No.
That's not how that works.
Parents are supposed to fight off alien threats, of course.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would if presented with that challenge.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to the next scene.
All right. Do we want to take a quick break before?
No.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about a fleeting family. The Doctor uses Desiderium's magic to make one last wish, no more wishes, hoping this will preserve Poppy's life in the real world. And when they open the Zero box, it indeed seems that Poppy has made it. The Doctor, Belinda, and Ruby take the infant Desiderium, now indistinguishable from a normal infant, to Ruby's family, who name him Joseph and agree to raise him. Back on the TARDIS, they set up a crib for Poppy and discuss their plans to travel as a family, but as they discuss their future, Poppy disappears, and immediately the Doctor, Belinda, and everyone at UNIT except for Ruby forgets she ever existed. So they're leaving that baby there, Joseph, who may have powers when he grows up. This was the passing back and forth of the coat that turns into the cloth that turns into nothing moment you were talking about, which was great.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
And yeah, it leaves more questions again, like, why is Ruby the only one who remembers? Which is okay. I thought that I had the answer to that when it came to Wish World, but now that we have the bigger question, I don't know. I don't know that I no longer believe RTD has the answers to these questions, which is what bothers me.
Yes.
Right.
That's the key. That's what really hurts. Is like, I'm along for the ride if you know where it's going, but all of the evidence suggests it's make it up as you go along.
Why was it snowing around Ruby? Like, what?
Yeah, that was meant to matter, wasn't it?
And never got resolved.
And Poppy, why Poppy from Space Babies? Is it like when the Doctor takes someone else's face in a regeneration? Like what? Yeah, I don't know if that's ever going to be answered.
Okay, so here's where we get to a central critique of this. Belinda, who was extremely independent, going, "Don't scan me, don't get me home right now." She is given a baby that's not hers. And forced into single motherhood by the Doctor. And like, I've seen a defense of this online where people say, oh, well, it wasn't forced on her. This was actually her baby all along. And she couldn't remember because they were in the wish and they had erased it. But then why Poppy from reality? And why was Poppy's face from Space Babies? I just, I don't think that this was her baby before. Like she was
no,
go on a date, right?
Yeah,
the history was rewritten.
She had a roommate with a cat that got killed.
Right. So now you have forced this woman into. First of all, you sidelined her for the entire finale by by locking
Putting
her in a box.
Oh, my, that's one of my biggest critiques. Is way to sideline Belinda as the mum. Like, I don't even know if they realized how borderline offensive that is.
Yeah.
Here, take care of the kids, and if you could put the kettle on at the same time, that would be great.
Especially after last episode, it was explicitly critiquing that, where it's like, Poppy's life is just, she's going to be the good girl, the good wife, and then the good mom. And then that's the story they give to Belinda?
Right, that's her ending. Like, if RTD was trying to fight the patriarchy here with Conrad's thing, I think RTD was the patriarchy all along.
Way to be an accidental victim of it. My interpretation of that was that the pouring energy into the TARDIS, doing the shift, was it 1 degree shift or something?
Something like that.
Yeah. They shifted into a reality where this is true. So this is a reality where Belinda did have a child. And the reason the Doctor doesn't remember is because in his reality, she didn't. But the only way to make Poppy exist is to exist in a reality where she does. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
But then, so what happened to the old Belinda?
It just exists. Just, multiple parallel timelines. And it's just comfortable to be in this one because the kid still lives.
Yeah.
But-
So since we're already talking about this, let me just read one more paragraph I wrote about this part. Pointing to a bunch of little changes that have come about and reminding the Doctor how we remembered and saved her even when her own mother forgot her and saved Belinda's timeline and so many others. Ruby convinces everyone that Poppy was real. The Doctor believes the only way to save her is to use his own regeneration energy to nudge this timeline 1 degree to bring Poppy back. In this new version of the world, Belinda has always been Poppy's mother, and Poppy is fully human, no longer the Doctor's daughter.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, here's a plate of patriarchy for you, Belinda. It was really like, oh, wow, that was a message that you made.
And it's strange to me because like that universe where Poppy doesn't exist still exists. Like if I don't feel like we're rewriting anything. I feel like it's creating a new branching timeline. I don't know. There's Doctor Who has never been best friends with science, but they've always been acquaintances and like some kind of logic. It feels like such an incoherent way to end this story. And like, bottom line, what's the message? Like, what's the theme? Like, yeah, every life matters, but I don't think you've delivered that with this theme. Like, what are we trying to get from this story?
Yeah, I liked that Ruby in the end just wished for Conrad to be happy, because I do honestly think it would solve a lot of things if these Conrads of the world were just happy on their own. They would stop trying to make other people miserable. But then my question is, were they implying that wish is what messed everything else up, where we got, the teal is the wrong color and stuff now?
I don't know. I wasn't that. No, that was before the Doctor shift, wasn't it?
Yeah, was.
Before the Doctor shift. Yeah.
That was the result of Ruby sending Conrad away.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So she did a good thing, and they're saying that's what messed up the world. And
or is it just the entire wish world, like the set of wishes when that was coming off, like things leaked in? I got it more like that.
I don't know. I just want to point out that so they said, I wonder if teal's going to be like Mavity now, where it's always going to be too blue. But also, so they brought up this Swedish-Norwegian border shifting, the teal thing. And then Ernest Borgnine, they said he's still alive. He died, by the way, in 2012, and he would be 108 if he were still alive today.
Damn. Before we move on from the Swedish-Norway border, where is Bad Wolf Bay? It's in Norway.
Oh, interesting.
And now Norway just got a little bit bigger.
Why did they rewatch that episode and not?
Because RTD wrote it.
I mean, a lot of the ones we're referencing, he also wrote, but he wrote a lot. So I don't know. I think a lot of this has to do with the reshoots thing. I do have to wonder how that messed with everything. I shouldn't overthink how Doctor Who deals with alternate realities, but I have been like targeting episodes to rewatch that have to do with that, like Turn Left, the Donna one with the beetle in the back, the Trickster stuff with Sarah Jane, 9 bringing up, like 9 would say things about, for instance, this MP Harriet Jones, that she would serve 3 terms. She obviously didn't. So is that an alternate reality? I don't know if they're ever going to.
It's one of the, to get macro, it's one of the big reasons I have I think long term my investment and my commitment shifted kind of like through my 20s into Star Trek, because there is my brain, just how my brain works, likes this consistency and likes that if I rewatch this enough, I'm going to put some more pieces together and I get some more history. The more I rewatch Doctor Who, the less it matters with more Doctor Who that comes.
That's fair. That's fair.
There are no rules. It does not matter. So my enjoyment of Doctor Who comes much more from living in the moment, which it's sad because you do miss something.
John, did you recognize Adelaide Sedai?
Yes, I did. Well, you pointed this out like 3 other times. Okay. So yeah, so I had no choice.
Last episode, she was only there. Last episode.
Okay, yeah. Well, I listened to your last episode. I guess that's why.
Okay, I do have questions though about whether things are being planned. It's just my human brain wants to claw at connections and make them happen. But so apparently Poppy's quote unquote real father in this version of the world is Richie Akingbola, and Akingbola is a Nigerian surname. So I'm like, okay, is there a link to the story in the Engine episode to that Ade Tukunbo, the barber character? Could that be a thing? And then one very explicit, they should have just already have started to explain this, but Anita says before she's like, okay, y'all forgot I was here, but I'm done hodoring now. Got to go back to work. But they say hello, by the way, the boss. And we last heard someone refer to the boss and the Star Beast when the Meep said the boss is going to want to find out about this. So I don't know if that's really setting something up. I hope the RTD knows who the boss is. Apparently he's been writing future seasons, so.
Yeah, I've heard something about him having 2 seasons already plotted out and basically all of next season written, but
I think he needs to, honestly, like, I loved the idea of an annual release, but I'm kind of, now I'm like, maybe you should take some feedback first, buddy.
Maybe less is more.
Well, apparently we're going to get the next season 2027 at the earliest. I don't know if we'll even get a holiday special this year.
I think 2026 we'll get a holiday special.
Yeah, that would, I don't know though. I don't know. There's so much up in the air. I'm just thinking like what that means for Rose, because the next time we rejoin it has to be to resolve the Rose thing. So
Right. So, okay, the unexpected goodbye, the Doctor's dying. He tells Belinda he hopes to see her again, but he will have a different face. He returns to his TARDIS. The 13th Doctor shows up to talk to him, and then he regenerates, not quite alone. Joy, the star, watches over him, revealing a new face, that of former companion Rose Tyler, a.k.a. Bad Wolf. So, yeah, we talked a lot about her, about whether that might mean anything already. It was the biggest regen energy yet, and I wonder if that means anything. Like,
I need a break before we talk about this.
Okay.
My regeneration energy has cooled.
I mean, I don't know if you have anything more you guys want to say about the Rose Tyler of it all, or if we just want to talk about Jodie Whittaker.
Oh, Jodie. Oh, that was so good.
That was incredible. That was without a doubt the highlight of the episode. It actually is a great way to do a cameo, in my opinion. It was so good to see her on screen, and it was bittersweet as well, because it just reminded me how little of her we got as well in her version of the Doctor, because of many reasons that we've hinted upon.
It's really interesting. Like the dialogue was so much better here, and they actually had great chemistry together. Have any of you seen the compilation that, I don't remember if BBC put this out or a fan did it, but they put out a compilation of every time a Doctor visits another Doctor's TARDIS and they say, I don't like it. You've redecorated. I don't like it.
Oh, it's great. It's one of my favorite running jokes.
Yeah, I think 2 does it to 3. In the 3 Doctors, that's the first time it happens.
Yes.
And that, the David Tennant does it to Matt Smith in the 50th. There's a whole slew of them.
I do like her TARDIS better, if I'm going to be honest. It's cozier and more.
His is way too clean.
Yeah, it's too, it doesn't, there's no chairs, We talked about that in the Christmas special. But
honestly, the Matt Smith one, and this is my favorite because it reminds me so much of the 5th Doctor's TARDIS.
Okay.
That's the TARDIS I grew up with, so I am that hits all the nostalgia for me. The gaming lights, not so much. The RGB
so bright
of it all.
It's so bright. Does it really need to be bigger in a room defined by its bigness?
I love that.
That was good. I really like how lived in and just grimy and like by the seat of its pants the TARDIS felt in both the RTD era and the Moffat era. I missed that a lot. It was just like, it always felt like he was going to be, like a mechanic under the console, just like throwing things out.
Yeah. And I liked that. I think the way they explained it was that he's still recovering from the war and from being, he didn't realize he was the war doctor, but he's recovering from a very violent era of his life. And the TARDIS reflects that as being a bit more rugged, a bit more on the edge, and a bit more grimy.
Yeah.
That's how you do story things, RTD. You know this.
I loved her comment, his comment when Jodie Whittaker showed up. I'm surprised it's not the other guy. He is always turning up.
Yeah.
Because now, as soon as we saw Rose's face at the end, people are like, oh, so that means we're getting more David Tennant. I'm like, well, we already have...
not necessarily.
We have 3 versions of him out there in the multiverse. Let's do something with, I don't know. I don't even know what I want them to do with that. But it's like, what was the point of bringing back 14 just to let him sit in a garden with Donna while there's another version of him sitting in another universe with a different Rose? Like,
yeah, it's an unnecessary resolution. We don't need it. The beauty of of 10 turning that hand into the Doctor, that was a bi-generation, but it was so much more meaningful because he's giving Rose something that he can't give while he continues on. And guess what? Jodie turning up, another reason why you don't need bi-generation. She is still out there. She's still doing things. All of the Doctors are still out there doing things. You've created a solution to a problem that didn't exist.
Yeah, she says, I've been popped out of my timeline, which is not, normally the Doctors can just meet because their timelines are all of time and space, but...
Well, the first time, I know you just watched this, right, Elysia? Is the Time Lords are like, we got to do all this, we got to use so much power to maintain the timelines because they're going to meet.
Okay.
Yeah, it really shouldn't happen. Like, it's meant to be a big deal. It's become less of a big deal, but they always mention how many like stars and planets are being sacrificed to.
Yeah, and now they're like, oh hi,
together. Oh hi, I'm here.
Okay, but so she said she was popped out of her timeline because there's a great big time schism on its way caused by you. Him doing the whole right after that he did the whole shifting the 1 degree thing. Is that supposed to have fixed it? Because it seems to me like that would make it worse. Or I'm kind of hoping that this schism is actually still coming, and they're just going to fix it all back. And Belinda gets to have her own life where she gets to actually meet someone and fall in love and do her hinge date or whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
Elysia, I want to tell you about a river in Egypt.
I mean, I'm applying the clown makeup as we speak, but
it might pop up if he needs it to. This is the problem. Like, predictions are almost pointless because he'll refer back to it if he needs to. If not, it'll just be the reason to get Jodie Whittaker into the room.
Yeah. I just noticed now that I'm rewatching the beginning of this series, the 2005 with the Ninth Doctor, it was so grounded. It all made like it's wild, Daleks show up and there's Slitheenes and all this stuff, but the plot points, you can do a logical recap without all this, but what I don't understand and this contradicts. Like, no, it's just there's a story that has progression of events that add up to something in the end.
Yeah. That's kind of what
reveals for the sake of shock value, right?
Yeah, it really feels like that. And I was hoping this soft reboot with Ncuti was going to draw a line under that. And the one benefit of bi-generation would be that is the Doctor Who that was. This is a reset where you are allowed to... We're going to be more grounded and we can do more individual stories and we don't have to worry. But they've doubled down on the nonsense completely.
Yeah. They need to reset the Doctor's amnesia. Just have a Doctor who... It's just figuring things out.
Yeah.
And the audience can go with them.
That might be the next step, is that we just have a complete reboot back to Doctor Who #1, him escaping Gallifrey.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I don't know where you go from here. It's a weird... Look, you could always fix Doctor Who. There's a million ways to reset everything. I just don't know. I think they got to get new writers in here. They are rehashing ideas like a brunch restaurant.
Well, I wouldn't mind that at all if you just brought them together in a satisfying way. And the thing is, they're just like, Remember Omega? Everyone's wanted Omega. We didn't rewatch those episodes, but we said the name. So,
right. Also, and the hand waving, like the underworld is the underverse is a land of legends. And you're like, okay, what does that mean?
I'm okay with that. Like, we're only getting bitter about this stuff, I think, because it just ultimately left us in this unsatisfying place when we don't know when we're even going to get answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what fans are crying out for doesn't mean we shouldn't always be sated. We cry out for many things, but the vast majority of us are not writers and don't know what we're talking about. So don't give us all of the candy because it's not good for us before bedtime.
Well, not at once, at least. Like, bring back Omega, but make it a contained story that actually gives an entire story to that character. Don't just... Here's a parade of all the characters that have ever existed.
Yeah,
and don't just have the Ronnie smirk for 2 episodes and get eaten.
Well, that's it. It does a huge disservice to Omega. It does a huge disservice to Rani, who are justifiably enough to be their own arc. Like the Return of the Master, the Mr. Saxon stuff that was just sprinkled throughout season 2? Question mark?
I think
3. Season 2. Original 3?
Yeah, it was 3 because Rose didn't deal with the Master. It was a Martha thing.
There was another Master who showed up briefly before that.
Oh, yeah. Season 2 was Cybermen versus the Daleks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then season 3 was the Master. But
we could destroy the Cybermen with one Dalek. You ever see people do do lip syncs to that where they do like the Dalek serving and they're doing like a little dance like a Mean Girls kind of thing?
Oh, that's amazing. I love it. But that's how that for me was way more satisfying. That's how you can sprinkle a mystery. It doesn't have to be all the bad guys all at once.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
get that writer back.
Oh my God, we are a complainy bunch today. I'm sorry, everyone, but you know what? Like. It's because we love the show. I just, I'm 300 episodes into Classic Who. I'm not somebody who's going to shirk off this show. I just watched spiders jump on people's backs and take them over. And I was fine with it because at the end, I got John Pertwee laying on the floor going, "A tear, Sarah Jane?" And I'm about to start bawling because it's so beautiful. And that's what I mean is like, you need that emotional payoff to make it work.
And I think this one did, as I said, it impacted me emotionally, especially the first time I watched it. Ultimately, the way that I was left, came into this so excited that we were going to get all these resolutions, and we got the opposite of that, where it's just untangling the things that I thought I already knew without explaining anything.
Mm-hmm.
But like, okay, you were emotionally affected one time, but are you ever going to be emotionally affected about it rewatching it? Because I'm not.
I
meanwhile,
rewatched it this morning, and I was a bit emotionally affected by the ending. But I mean, we'll see. It depends what happens next. I guess.
I just mean I could watch any of the previous regenerations and get emotional repeatedly. Any of them, even Jodie's from my least favorite showrunner. I think Tag, you're it. That always makes me go, wow, that's a great last line, and especially I don't want to go. Amy coming back at 11's amazing, beautiful. I will always remember when the Doctor was me. Like, man, we had some banger last lines.
Yeah, that's great.
Did you guys ever see the Curse of Fatal Death? I'm sure you've seen it.
Yes.
The one where it was a comedy special, so it's not canon or anything, but it has. It was during the dark time before they revived Doctor Who, and we have, and I suppose it came out shortly after that movie. The Eighth Doctor movie was supposed to restart the whole thing and didn't. And so it's a funny special overall. We've got Rowan Atkinson, we've got Richard E. Grant, we've got Hugh Grant. Anyway, it's a funny episode, but lovingly making fun of Doctor Who. But then at the end, the companion says to him, "Doctor, listen to me. You can't die. You're too nice, too brave, too kind, and far, far too silly. You're like Father Christmas, the Wizard of Oz, Scooby-Doo. and I love you very much, and we all need you. You simply cannot die. And this was said, like I said, after that attempt to revive with Paul McGann fell through. And obviously this was like a really heartfelt plea amidst the comedy, but I'm feeling it again with this, where I'm like, don't go out like this, not like this.
Yeah.
I don't think that the show's getting canceled for sure. Or do you mean Shooty's Doctor?
Well, that too, but also, just the uncertainty of the future.
BBC's not going to let this die. Disney might let this die, but BBC's not going to let
RTD
this die.
has said it's definitely coming back on the BBC, but the Disney deal is up in the air.
Yeah.
Okay.
I honestly am fine if they lose the Disney money. I don't think the budget added much. I thought Doctor Who looked better in the Whittaker era.
Well, I read, I don't know, I completely agree. It does look good, but I read an article that said the most of that Disney money went to filming in 4K versus 2K because the BBC is 2K, but Disney insists on being 4. So I think a lot of that extra money literally just went on the CGI to make it broadcastable on Disney Plus. But I don't know. I feel like it would benefit from having less budget because guess what? It didn't have back in the day. It had cardboard monsters and horrible sets, and sometimes that strong arms you into telling a better story.
Right. You can't rely on it anymore.
Yeah.
Well, here we are, everyone, in this moment of silence for the RTD2 era. I wish we had more Shooty. I'm glad we got what we got, but I overall I think we need more episodes because something, and this is not just a Doctor Who problem, is I think in the modern era of streaming we've lost the do nothing episodes. Like filler had a purpose.
Yeah,
it helped flesh out the characters. It helped flesh out like their relationships. I feel like we haven't had like a New Earth episode, like where it's just kind of like a simple plot, and we get to see Rose and the Doctor be a little cutesy, and it just advances the relationships more than it advances the plot.
Yeah, I think I agree. I feel like we need fewer TV shows with more seasons.
Yeah,
it's probably true. Well, we have feedback. Does anyone want to read it?
Sure.
Okay, I'll read it. I think my voice is recovered enough. Everyone's depressed right now. Jesus. All right. Tori says, hi. Need to make sure I'm not going crazy after Reality Wars. I'm having a hard time believing that the story is wrapped because in season 2, episode 1, Belinda clearly lives with roommates, whereas this final episode completely omits that and leads us to believe she lives in this house with Poppy. And 2, Belinda doesn't remember giving birth to Poppy in Wishworld. If Poppy had been her daughter all along, wouldn't she have at least remembered giving birth? Looking forward to your review of this episode. Yeah, I think we mostly covered this already.
Yeah, not her daughter. He shifted reality, and now it became her daughter in this new reality.
Yeah, it's a fresh timeline.
So it takes away her own life. Yeah.
Which means he didn't actually fix anything. He just moved to a universe where the problem was already solved.
That's true.
So is that other universe without a doctor now? Like what's going on? Yeah,
that's what I wonder.
Yep.
Yeah. That could be intriguing to pull at. I just need more confidence again in the readiness and willingness and ability to answer those questions.
I wonder if this universe is the one with Rose in it.
Well, and give us a post-credit scene or something that shows the universe he left behind without a doctor and how dangerous that becomes. And that then kind of sets up maybe the doctor has to travel back to his prime universe, whatever that is.
Yeah, maybe Rose has to shoot that. The Rose Doctor has to shoot that regeneration energy back in.
Oh, it would be interesting if this was the universe that the other Rose and Doctor retired to, and they run into each other, and she's like, "Oh, that's my face." Uh-oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
All right. You want to read Jordan for?
Yeah. Jordan says, "I know I'll miss the mailbag, but couldn't help commenting on that whirlwind. Honestly, to me, convoluted of an episode. I was hoping for a landing of the plane, but with the exit of Godwine and the return of Rose, no offense to the amazing Billie Piper, it felt like a crash landing. I checked the timestamps several times to see how much longer the episode had, as it felt like 3 or more stories going on at the same but different times, and none of them really had any resolution, if that makes any sense at all. The Ronnie, the Ronnie Omega and Pantheon seem totally irrelevant in the end. Nothing seems to be wrapped up or else wrapped up too neatly, and I am unsure if that is the point or if things are just bleeding out into time and space. What about Susan? What about Rogue? And seriously, what the fuck was all that Poppy business? And of course, last but not least, as I mentioned with my recent rewatch, the last character in the Whoverse I would have wished back would be Rose, and now she is the Doctor. Question mark? Sigh, okay, je me calme. Was a fantastic run with Shooty, and I'm incredibly sad to see it end so abruptly. I hope we get more Who soon, and the Disney and BBC continue, but honestly, just hope Who lives on, Dr. Rose or not. And now to search for your coverage. Thanks as always. Always makes my day when a Lorehounds cast pops up on the pod feed. P.S. Looking forward to Foundation Season 3. Thanks, Jordan, and thanks for the Quebecois, as always.
Yeah, and so as we said, we don't know when this is Who proper is coming back, but we do have a trailer for the war between the land and the sea, and we know it's going to be a 5-part series. It's written by Russell T Davies and Pete Mattai, and it's going to be directed by the guy who directed 73 Yards and Dot and Bubble, which were both good episodes. So I have high hopes for it. Release date 2025. Not telling us when. We know it's going to be Unit with Kate and Shirley and Colonel Ibrahim. Apparently no Mel or Rose or the other people for some reason. But there is going to be General Austin Pierce from Torchwood. So I'm glad that I have a Torchwood rewatch lined up because I don't really remember him. And new characters played by Russell Tovey and Gugu Mbatha Raw. And we know that she is playing a very different looking Sea Devil. I'm going to rewatch the Sea Devil episodes that have existed so far. I don't know if that's going to mean anything, but
everything says no.
Basically, they're older than humans. They see Earth as their own. The classic Who episodes where they show up are the serials where they show up are the Sea Devils is the first one, season 9 of Classic Who, which is the 3rd Doctor, serial 3 of that season. Frontier in Space, season 10, serial 3. Warriors of the Deep, season 21, which is the 5th Doctor, serial 1.
Love that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna rewatch. I'm gonna watch all of those, and I'm going to rewatch again the one that I don't like, the only one I've seen, the new Who one toward the end of the Whittaker era. The Legend of the Sea Devils, which was a 2022 Easter special.
I forgot that even existed.
I just rewatched it recently. It was, still disappointing, which is funny because it's sandwiched by 2 great episodes. Like, it was a penultimate episode with Jodie Whittaker, actually.
It's wild.
All right.
But it seems like they're going a new direction. It seems very adult, the new show.
It just reminds me of a time when Doctor Who would like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had Sea Devils and like this is what they do. They were on Earth longer than humans. Like, I don't know, just because you have a lot of history behind you doesn't mean you have to keep rehashing it.
Yeah, the Sea Devils are just the Silurians in water.
Yes.
That's all it is. It's the same plot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it seemed like a funny thing to run off and do a spin-off on, but it looks so very different from everything else that I am thoroughly intrigued. So check out our Discord. We'll definitely be talking about it. I assume we'll do some coverage of it depending on when it pops up. But
let's see if it's out on Christmas. Let's talk. All right. Well, you can still send emails to us, TARDIS@thelorehounds.com. You can join our Discord server in the link tree in the show notes. You can check out our coverage of Murderbot still going weekly.
Mm-hmm.
And
one more Andor episode coming, or 2 more Andor episodes coming. Other than the Andor episodes, I guess we're getting hopefully other stuff coming. I'm sure you have a Silmarillion stories and other stuff you had planned in the near future. So watch the Lorehounds main feed. Of course, there's the affiliates, and Nevermind the Music, Radioactive Ramblings. They just put out another Fallout Lore episode, Rings and Rituals, Properly Howard, We'll Shift Dust. We're starting Dune finally for reals today. And the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast, covering the High Republic still. And Supercast and Patreon stuff for the main Lorehounds feed gets ad-free access to all the Lorehounds episodes, bonus content for the shows we do bonus content for, including an upcoming Gene Hackman tribute film, and Jean and I are doing next week an MCU episode where we're going to say goodbye to the Sony Spider-Villain verse, which was
all right, very cool.
Was even better than this finale. Sarcastically.
Very nice.
All right. So thank you so much to everyone who's listening. If you would like to share this with anyone else who needed to vent about the Doctor Who finale, please do. Thank you especially to our Discord server boosters, Aaron K, Tiller the Thriller, Dork of the Ninjas, Doob71, Athena Ajalea, Tina Listu, Nancy M, Ghost of Partition, and Radioactive Richard. Thank you to all of our Lorehound subscribers, especially to our highest tier, the Lore Master, Samartian, Michael G, Michelle E, Brian P. SC, Peter OH, Adam S, Nancy M, Duve71, Brian 8063, Frederick H, Sarah L, Gareth C, Matthew M, Sarah M, Andra B, Kwang Yu, Deadeye Jedi Bob, Nathan T, Alex V, Sub-Zero, Aaron K, Dally V, Mothership 61, Gnarls, Kathy W, Listu, Jeffrey B, Elysia U, Neil F, Ben B, Scott F, Stephen N, Julia F, Coley S, Ilmariel, /Tim, Paul K, and always last, Adrian. Thank you.
The Lorehounds podcast is produced and published by The Lorehounds. You can send questions and feedback and voicemails at thelorehounds.com/contact. Get early and ad-free access to all Lorehounds podcasts at patreon.com/thelorehounds. Any opinions stated are ours personally and do not reflect the opinion of or belong to any employers or other entities. Thanks for listening.